to the 8th European Feminist Research Conference.
We are particularly grateful to be here with so many scholars from so many countries in Europe and so many universities that are at the cutting edge in your scholarship on these extremely important issues.
This with all these people in Budapest, it's lovely because CEU is such a nice university and located here beautifully in Budapest, and we have had good connections to Budapest and CEU.
I think it's a great occasion for students and scholars who are in the field of women's and gender studies to meet and consult and share their recent works, and also to gain energy as well.
It's a wonderful field, an amazing possibility, to exchange ideas, to come up with, another conferences ideas, another publications ideas, and that's important. And at the same time, because even if it's the, Feminist Research Conference, it's also open for activists.
There's an activist dimension always present in the knowledge formation, and in fact I would say that feminist knowledge production is a form of activism in and of itself, insofar as it engages with critiques with normative science and calls sexism in the academy into question, challenges grand theories, and does a whole range of different things like that.
I'm very much interested in the what I would call the sort of affective side of belief that can bring in the political kind of charge and can actually instigate certain sort of alternative ways of living and feeling and experiencing. Belief is a powerful concept, powerful affect, and we cannot dispense with this. We cannot just relegate it to the realm of religion, kind of religious arrangement, but we have to kind of rediscover its potential.
I've attended most of the sessions on LGBT, and if you read about my country, Uganda, you'll find that there are bills in parliament to homosexuality is unacceptable in my country. So for me, this has been like opening up my mind and opening up ways for me to see if we can have a discussion about it, because it's not even talked about.
Since there are very, very few Romani intellectuals, and somehow we are determined to work for the community. So we cannot forget where we are coming from, and somehow we have to contribute back to them.
I'm looking at Emma Goldman, who was an anarchist activist from the 1890s to the 1940s, and thinking about how her work might be helpful for thinking about problems in how gender equality is perceived today. She argues that a counterpolitics is a place and time of real joy in its articulation of a different way of relating to others, and the desire to sustain that and inhabit it is what keeps her going.
So how to apply in this context the feminist criticism of the liberal concept of autonomous and separate individual? Criticism of neoliberalism is all right, but in women one has to be careful to not eliminate what was achieved so far.
Patriarchy in the region is experiencing deep transformations that go in diametrically opposite ways. So you have more conservatism and you have more opening in the media. So something in between. We have to think about the space in between.
In the case of revisionist history writing, memory does not only work backwards, but it also works forwards. It remembers events before they have happened. It has a very clear vision of the future, and the past is playing an important role in appropriating the past. The clear strategic vision of the future makes revisionism powerful. It deals with the emotional well-being of the followers, offering them emotional compensation for imagined grievances.
Women's or gender information centers are vital in preserving the cultural heritage of women and storing all this information. If it is not stored, it has never happened.
I think we have to deal with two things. We have to reach for acknowledgement within our feminist circles, and also we have to deal with the fact that lesbian and women's literature is not very good collected and stored in the traditional library system. And so we have to struggle also for the changing of the classification schemes, for instance, in traditional libraries too.
On the Students' Day specifically, we intend for it to be kind of a space for cross-generational dialogue. So, for instance, we have paper workshops in which students or PhD or MA students have submitted a piece of their writing to be read by like an expert in their field, basically.
What needs to be stressed is that many women's rights activists in the region, whether in Egypt, Palestine, Iraq, Iran, or Tunisia, have been intersectional in their approach to gender-based rights and have been at the forefront of opposing political authoritarianism, economic exploitation, and imperialist policies.
The one thing is, of course, the very scientific program, that people learn new things and they catch up with the latest research. So that's one thing that I think is always important. But then there is also the question of networking.
One of the things I'm learning from this conference is that it's as if you have to know a lot about a lot, because they'll talk about globalization, they'll talk about care, they'll talk about things like LGTB, they'll talk about so much. So somehow it brings you down to the fact that you need to go and you need to read widely around not just what you're doing but around everything.